Glass. Was it awesome? Did it shatter all expectations? For me, it did. I thought this movie was amazing, and I even loved the ending. I thought it was a fantastic movie, and I'm going to tell you why. What did you think? Let's talk about it in the comments. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my spoiler talk for Glass. Finally got the chance to see this movie, and I loved it. I loved it beginning to end, so I'm giving this movie an A. It gets an A for awesome, for amazing, whatever. It gets an A. Man, I was enthralled with this movie beginning to end. And some people seem to not like the end, and I get it. It's actually a pretty dark ending, and it kind of leaves you like, whoa, what? Really? But I liked it. Like, it had to set in for just a little bit, but during the credits, as I was thinking about it, I was like, wow, that's different than your typical M. Night Shyamalan twist, and it's not like as drastic, but I enjoyed it. But I'll dive into that more here in just a little bit. First, I want to state the obvious that James McAvoy is just absolutely amazing. He deserves an Academy Award for that performance. Now, I know the Academy does not like to acknowledge the existence of movies that people pay money to go see, but my gosh, they should make an exception for this because James McAvoy is just incredible in this role. And what I liked so much was, number one, to go from Split to this, however many years it was between filming Split and filming this, he picked those characters up right where they left off, and he did a great job with them. But the other thing that was really cool was the character arcs of the identities living inside of Kevin. For instance, you had Dennis. Dennis was the one that stalked the girls in Split. He kidnapped the girls, and they were the sacred food for the beast. But now, all of a sudden in this movie, Dennis, the one identity, is having a crisis of conscience, and he's feeling really bad about all the death, and he doesn't really want much more of a part in the death. Yeah, he wants people to recognize the broken and all that and all the stuff that the beast stands for, but the death, it's taking a toll on him. And because it's taking a toll on him, he's losing faith in the mission. So Patricia has to react to that. Where Dennis and Patricia were kind of each other's buddies and support, now it's kind of just like Patricia and Hedwig, because Hedwig is the one that has the power to hold the light. So it's really interesting to see how Dennis, his arc, his character begins to change and how it affects the other personalities. And it's just so cool to dive into that. It's so cool to see James McAvoy portray that. I gotta say, I was super excited right at the very beginning of this movie when you have David Dunn, played by Bruce Willis, just walking through the street because he decided to walk through this place now because, you know, all right, let's just see if my son is right and this is where the bad guy is. Boom! He runs right into Hedwig as Hedwig is running by, gets the flash of where the cheerleaders are, and oh my gosh, when he got into that fight with the Beast, when it was the Overseer. I do like that name that they gave him. The Overseer versus the Beast. Oh my gosh. Like, I was just so freaking excited to see that. And when the Beast just had his arms wrapped around David and was squeezing him, but David just wasn't breaking because he's unbreakable. And David just goes straight for the window and jumps out. It's like, yes, that is so freaking epic. So, like, that moment when David and the Horde met was just an awesome moment for me. I was so excited for it. I was not let down when it happened. It was just so good. Samuel L. Jackson is great in this movie. I love seeing him come back as Mr. Glass as we dive more into the character of Mr. Glass, how he's been faking, you know, being on drugs this entire time. Like, he is the mastermind that has been playing everyone almost the entire 19 years that he's been locked up, waiting for just the right moment. And then the Horde gets arrested and gets brought into the same building, and it's the opportunity that he's been seeking. But, you know, it's just cool because we knew how smart he was before, but it's really cool to see just how smart he is. Like, he's the only guy that has realized his full potential. And so in his quest to find purpose, to figure out where he fits in this world, we see, like, how tremendous his intelligence is, how incredibly patient he is. And it's just really interesting to dive into his character that way. Now, in this movie, there were things that I found predictable, but I didn't find the things that were predictable to be bad. For instance, when they, you know, sedated Samuel L. Jackson, Mr. Glass, early, and did the operation on him early because they saw him on the camera sneaking out at night, to me, it was obvious and predictable that he had already messed with the laser so that it wasn't going to mess with his brain. And boom, we got the reveal that he messed with the laser so it didn't mess with his brain at all, but it worked. Because we're seeing how smart he is, so that's one of those predictable things that's acceptable, and you want to see that he's done that, and you want to see how he messed with it. So I thought that was cool. The other thing that was really predictable, and I saw it coming from the end of Split, where basically we find out that Kevin Crumb's dad was on the same train as David Dunn. Everybody died and David lived. But what was really interesting of what M. Night Shyamalan did with that is how he used it. The fact that the Beast got this revelation at the most inopportune time, and suddenly he's conflicted. Because he's grateful that Mr. Glass did what he did. Because without Mr. Glass doing what he did, the Beast wouldn't have life. The Beast wouldn't exist. The Beast wouldn't be able to take the light. So yeah, he's grateful to Mr. Glass, but the sole purpose of his existence is to protect Kevin, and now Mr. Glass is not a trustworthy person to protect Kevin. So now he's got to act and defeat his creator because he's got to protect the individual that he was created to protect. So even though I saw it coming a mile away, the way it was used and written in the movie, it didn't disappoint me that I had predicted that. So that was a really cool thing to see coming a mile away. What I also liked was the setup of this story because, you know, even though David Dunn has been the overseer for like 19 years now and been saving people here and there, you have Mr. Glass who's kind of frustrated because David hasn't tapped his true potential, that he's only dived into 1% of his full strength and all that he is. And now that the Beast is here and all of that stuff, and he's created the Beast, he's created the Overseer, and he's the mastermind that has actually created these heroes, now he wants to bring them into the light and have David Dunn fight somebody equal to him in strength and might so that both parties, the Beast and the Overseer, have to reach in deeper and go into their full potential. And so that was a really cool storyline. So the setup of this is comic books with all their origin stories. This was a comic book origin story. It was real life, so it took way longer to get there, but it's an origin story. And so it was interesting to go through this movie going, yeah, so this whole trilogy is an origin story for David Dunn stepping into the light. Then they drown him and he dies. I'm like, what? David Dunn is... What? What? Are you kidding me? And then they shoot the Horde. You know, they shoot Kevin's body and he's dying. And you know what? I gotta tell you, I was shocked that David Dunn died. I was expecting one last measure of strength to burst out of him. And for him to win that fight, I was so expecting that. But then, while he died, and that got me a little bit, what really got me and drew a tear to my eye was when we cut back over and we have Casey and she's holding Kevin's body and all the personalities are grabbing for the light as the body is dying. The saddest one was when Hedwig grabbed the light and he said, but I wanted to be 9 forever. Gosh, I don't know. I can't even explain to you why that hit me emotionally, but it did. And again, a testament to James McAvoy's performance. And finally, when Kevin takes the light and holds on to it until the body dies, like it's like, oh gosh. Like, that was just such a compelling and emotional moment. And then it was an interesting reveal because I did not like Dr. Ellie Staple at all. I thought she was arrogant. I thought she was full of herself, and I couldn't wait for the Beast to eat her. But I was just excited for her to be proved wrong about everything. What a cool little twist that she had the Clover tattoo on her wrist like some of those other guys. Part of an organization that's not good, that's not bad. That doesn't side with the heroes or the villains, but wipes out anybody that is special because there can't be gods among us. That was a really interesting plot. But it's an interesting point to be raised. Can we as humanity handle, like, gods walking among us? But then the whole point of the movie is to say all of us are special. And if we would dare to believe that we were all superheroes instead of trampling each other down and we could just believe in ourselves and believe in our full capability, what could we possibly live up to? And I thought that was a fantastic message in this movie. And I thoroughly enjoyed that message, man. It was just so good. And so, you know, whenever anybody is special, there's always somebody trying to smack that down. So that's what this, like, Clover group was. They were here to smack down anybody that was special. Whether they were using their powers for good or evil, doesn't matter. They all get a smackdown because it's just not fair that there's people that are special among us, when what could happen if we all just believed that we were special? So David Dunn dies, the Beast dies, Samuel L. Jackson dies, and then we find out that Samuel L. Jackson, Mr. Glass, had an overarching plan that all the cameras that were put in the facility just for him was part of his master plan, that the entire battle could be recorded and then posted on the internet. And so there it is, posted, and what it turns out is this trilogy is not like building up here to this end, to this one final contest. I love the twist ending, that it's not a final fight. This is not the end. This is the origin story. And it's the origin story of a real, grounded superhero universe where superheroes actually exist. That's what this was. It was a look into the origins of that universe and that world beginning in a real world. And that is why I loved the ending. I was so sad to see David Dunn die, so sad to see Kevin's body die, so sad that even Mr. Glass died. But that amazing twist that what this was the whole time was not an epic final fight or the conclusion to a trilogy, but that the trilogy itself is a look into a universe that exists that we didn't know existed, but it's the origin now of that universe being exposed and coming to light. And now what can people do if they would just dare to believe they could do it? If they could just dare to believe that they are superheroes. So I thought that was an incredibly interesting film. It's why this movie gets an A. What did you think of Glass? Did you like the ending? Let's talk about this in the comments. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button to become a Durbanian and hit the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified from my next movie review, ranking video, theological analysis, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.